Miyamoto Musashi was an esteemed samurai warrior in medieval Japan. With him, he held a lot of honor, and he started dueling very young at the age of 13. It was at this age he killed his first foe, and yes, he would go on to kill over 60 other people in his duels. He clearly never lost, as he would actually die on his own deathbed of old age. He fought in the Battle of Sekigata, and he actually lost. But this contributed to a tradition that happens when other cultures would surrender to a different type of shogun. He became a ronin over time, which is a masterless samurai. In this time, he would take many years to study the art of the sword and perfect it. And in this quest, became a very prolific swordsman and samurai. It was in this time when he would do much of his dueling, defeating and sometimes killing his opponent. He invented the Nito Ichi Fyo, which is a style of fencing with two swords. This was brand new and was not traditional to other samurais and shoguns at the time. He trained and retired after defeating his rival Sasaki Kohiro, and Sasaki Kohiro was an arch rival throughout Musashi's time as a ronin or samurai. Sasaki was a very skilled combatant as well, killing and defeating many other samurai in the region. They were both very aware of each other's presence, and this eventually boiled over as they agreed to fight in this infamous duel just off the coast of Japan on an island. Sasaki was a very arrogant and, again, skilled combatant, making him a formidable foe as Musashi was starting to get a little older. Think about hanging up the sword metaphorically. But Sasaki, when they met, he was there promptly, punctually, on time for their meeting, so they could duel. He hated Musashi and he wanted him dead. Now, Miyamoto Musashi knew that Sasaki was more arrogant, a little quick to strike even. So he actually opted to show up late 3 hours, show up 3 hours late in his own fishing boat. In his fishing boat, he actually fashioned the oar to act as a wooden sword for him to utilize. In this pivotal moment, as he got on the beach, Sasaki was enraged, and he actually drew his sword on Miyamoto somewhat prematurely. Miyamoto, he anticipated this. He anticipated this. He actually, as Sasaki was becoming increasingly enraged and increasingly furious, he was just calmly moving his things out of his fishing boat, placing them on the beach. And then he picked up his paddle and he actually, in one blow, one strike at the top of Sasaki Kohiro's head, he beat him to death in one fell swoop. This is a very infamous duel. It took place in the 1600s, and it was after this point that Musashi decided he wanted to bring no more death to others and to his opponents. He then retired and instead started teaching military strategy and swordsmanship, and became a mentor to younger samurai and taught at his own school. In this time, he actually started painting. He painted a lot. He painted a lot of different different images of birds. Some of these were pretty famous, including the Ronanzu and the Mekikazuma. Those translations, I'm not entirely sure, but I know they're images of birds and a tree in the fog, and yeah. But he had a passion for painting and art in general, and even on his deathbed, as he was dying, he would write what is probably his biggest legacy behind that famous duel with Sasaki Kohiro. And he wrote the Five Rings, and they were divided up into five different chapters: Earth, Water, Fire, Wind, and Space. And those first three chapters are devoted entirely to military and warfare and strategy. among those topics and various knowledge that he has attained over his years. Win, on the other hand, is about tendencies in sword fighting that he's observed from other schools. And space is all about the concept of warfare as a whole. So it's a little more philosophical than the other chapters, which are more about the actual practices that go on in between those lines. And that's been his legacy. It's still studied today. It was translated in 1974, and that's how most people have come to know his name. But all in all, I think, well, I shouldn't give my Miyamoto Musashi. He was a very honorable and venerable samurai warrior whose legacy is most profound in his dueling proficiency, his defeat of Sasaki Kohiro, his rival, through patience, and also his 5 rings.